Welcome to PropPro 247, a smart suite of tools, systems, and real estate valuation calculators. We'll be discussing this video is about the development property valuation calculator, do's and don'ts, and the correct formula to apply when evaluating development opportunities. Let me take you straight to the calculator itself. We have an input area and we have results report areas. You will notice from our input area we have limited data which is required in order to calculate the correct formula and results. Due to the length of data that is required when evaluating a development property for viability purposes, I have input some of the data prior to making the video. You will notice we have an activity code which relates to a type of expense, whether it's the purchase of land, surveyors, engineers, construction, etc. And it accumulates these expenses so that we can see the percentage of the expense being absorbed in the project. We have the cash flow in and out and the dates. Now the dates are absolutely crucial to evaluating development property opportunities. Unlike if you have watched my commercial property valuations and business valuations, you will note that we spend a lot of time on formulas such as net present value of future cash flows, internal rate of return, and the modified internal rate of return. Now those formula will not work on development property projects because they only work on commercial and annuity type income where the cash flows are regular. We have to make use of XNPV and XIRR formulas, which are date sensitive net present values and date sensitive internal rate of returns for the assessment of development properties or projects. Only these formula are able to calculate the net results and returns. Now, if I take you quickly through the calculator, I've input certain costs, land, for example, 2,000 town planning, etc. And under sales income, I've put 168 million rand. Now, once we've input this, we automatically get the net present values, date sensitive, and IRR returns for the particular project based on this limited input. I know it's a small sample, but for video purposes, again, we've got to keep the sample small. You will see your costs, how they've been absorbed into the project. And at this point in time, you will see a gross profit percentage. Now, if I may delve a little bit into using the gross profit as a yardstick to evaluating development property. Now, nothing could be more incorrect than utilizing that method, and I'll show you why. Because it does not take in consideration the timing of cash flows and the internal rate of return and net present values. If we had to change, for example, the project was delayed by just 1 year, and we make that our income comes at the end of the period because it's a sectional title development, for example, and we say that project we're only going to receive income a year hence. You will notice how the internal rate of return net present value has dropped dramatically from the above 50% to 24%, yet your gross profit remains the same. Now, all your measurement techniques should be taking consideration the cash flows, the dates of the cash flows, which are critical in order to assess them correctly. Without that, you will not be able to assess the sensitivity of the project, of delays or timings of your cash flows. Now, let's just move that back to 2022 and as if the project had not altered, and we have a look back at our rates, we can see our rates. Now, you can also utilize this to assess the value of the land if you have a targeted IRR. Let's say we are targeting a percentage of above 50%, which we feel will look after the risk of the project himself. And if we had to pay, for example, 45 million for that piece of land, we will see that our return drops to 40%. So we can utilize this to also evaluate what the land should come out at, or what we prepare to pay for the land. Now, further to a development project, there are many cases. This is just measuring if we had to perform a development and sell all our stock, see what type of returns and see our sensitivity, etc., and see where our money is going to. But there also comes projects where we retain stock for rental purposes. And here again, I've just input, this is our commercial property valuation calculator. I've input the date at which the project would be complete, the funders percentage, the gross rental, etc., and the cap rate, and we get a value based on the cap rate at 5.7 million in this instance. This is added to the XNPV and XIRR in order to give us a total project result. The value of this is added at the specific date that we have requested. If we, for example, had to change that date or change the amount of rental stock, it will alter the project value. So you may utilize this development property calculator to measure stock for sale, its returns, its sensitivities, or just stock for rental, what the internal rates of returns are, etc. It's got its own calculator for the property itself before it is brought into the entire project. Or you can use it as a combination where you're doing a development, you're selling a certain amount and you are retaining a certain portion. Now, all your cash flows have been calculated on the commercial portion on your rental stock in order to calculate the standard modified internal rate of return, internal rate, and net present value of the rental stock. So this is a development property valuation calculator that does everything for you. You do not have to have any knowledge on formula. You've only got basic input data, and it will do the rest for you. We also do have commercial valuation calculators which are used globally. It automatically calculates your returns, your net present values over all various time periods from 5 to 7 years. Got business valuation calculators which pretty much do the same, and a whole host of other smart features and facilities. I certainly hope you've enjoyed the short video on the development property valuation calculator and the most important formula which is required in order to value them correctly. And should you have any queries or wish to purchase these calculators from us, please contact us at propscience@proppro247.com or visit our website. I certainly hope you've enjoyed your video and have a great day further.